and he.
You were doing something.
No.
Sorry. I lose all control in these things.
I don't know why they keep asking me to come back, to be honest.
I don't either. So. Coming to you virtually live from the Beer to Whiskey Studios, high atop Barley's Taproom on Washington Street in glorious downtown Greenville, South Carolina. I'm Russ Heaps, and welcome to this episode of Big John in 5. Sitting on the other side of the dais is the namesake for Big John episodes, Big John Richards, and he.
You were doing something.
No.
Sorry. I lose all control in these things.
I don't know why they keep asking me to come back, to be honest.
I don't either. So John picks a beer from one of Barley's 72 taps or one of its 50, 60 cans and bottles. We sniff it, we sip it, we get bits about it. John tells us about the brewery. We learn a little bit about brewing history. And in this episode, we've got Josh Beeby in the house. And Josh is the owner of Barley's as well.
That expression's dead now.
As well as the trapdoor downstairs, which is Belgian food and beer. And it's always a treat to have Josh here, although he takes us down many rabbit holes. And so right up front, I'm going to blame him for this episode running a little long. But having said all that, John, what have you picked for us?
So we collaborated on this pick.
I had nothing to do with it. It was these two.
This is an eight Wired brewery beer called Double Scoop. 8 Wired is out of Auckland, New Zealand.
New Zealand, yeah. Up in the North Island somewhere.
And Double Scoop, actually, I think this is the baklava stout, but looking at their website, it looks like Double Scoop is a
base stout.
Yeah, it's a series or something that they. So I believe what we have in front of us here is the baklava stout, because that's the one that's out on their.
It smells a little
in their website, right? Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It smells. I smell that sort of honey and doughy sort of sweetness in there.
I should probably know that.
Well, you know.
I can go check the color.
You didn't have that beer last time.
I didn't. Right.
Pretty excited about this beer. I don't remember that I've ever had an 8 Wired beer before, and they're well known around the world, I think, at this point.
Yeah, so Soren started this. He was living in Perth at the time. Him and his current wife moved to New Zealand, and she'd given him, like most Australians, a Cooper's brewing kit. That's how we drink most of our beer down there. It got so expensive, everyone just started home brewing Coopers at home. So he moved to New Zealand, took a job with a big brewery called Renaissance, and then they were trying to start 8 Wide, but they couldn't get it done. They didn't have the financing, and Renaissance was nice enough to let them use their equipment, and they started contract brewing, and 8 Wide was born. One of my dear closest friends, Brian Watts, he went down to New Zealand for about 6 months, about 10, 11 years ago now. He worked picking grapes at a vineyard, and then met Soren and started working with him. Brian's got a lot of history in the beer industry. His brother's the president of Terrapin. So Brian started working with him, and now Brian lives in Colorado and is the 8 Wide rep. So he's always calling me saying, hey, I got some good beer down the pipeline, you want some?
Nice.
And then they were using Shelton Brothers as an importer. And that's why you probably haven't seen it. Because Shelton they went on this whole business model of we're just going to keep all the beer and not sell it to anyone except for like 5 accounts in the whole country.
Right.
And they were very expensive. And thus, when you're bringing beer all the way from New Zealand and then you're filtering it through Shelton Brothers, it was just unaccessible, and it was a bit of a disaster. So they're now distributing with a new distributor that we've just started working with, and they've picked up most of Shelton's portfolio at a much more reasonable price and happy to say we've got 8 Wide back in the building.
That's exciting.
I've got
Excellent.
4 or 5 kegs, and yeah, should be a fun day.
Yeah.
I'm excited to taste this one.
Let's give this a
So
try.
what's the ABV of this, John?
I'm tuning
7.5. Yeah, there you go.
See, I know everything.
8.
Both
I was just stretching a little bit.
Both
a bit tight.
both of these
7.5.
guys were on their phones researching this beer for at least 10 or 15 minutes before we started this.
We don't pay attention to alcohol levels, right? Come on. I mean,
Reasonable over there.
All right, well, let's get into this.
cheers.
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 Text Miss Lily.
Oh, that's interesting.
Definitely the baklava.
Yeah, it's got to be.
It's got a nice sweetness
It does.
on the end. Kind of finishes on your lips, really sweet.
Right.
It's got a lot of chocolate and
Back
some
of it's got
coffee
that
notes.
real like dark chocolate thing going on.
Yeah.
the back
Yeah, it's
of
a
it.
big chocolate
Yeah,
thing.
it does have that sweetness through the
Yeah.
middle that, like I said, finishes on your lips. That brings that baklava to it.
It's oily too. It's
Mm-hmm.
really it's I won't call it thick. It's texture.
Well,
is-
I would say if that would be a great experiment one day. Downstairs in the bottle we have Cooper's Pale Ale and
Yeah.
Cooper's Stout.
Yep.
And in Australia and New Zealand, our stouts don't have that big, thick, creamy richness.
Right.
They're a lot more lighter and sessionable.
Yeah.
That Cooper Stout's one of my favorite stouts in the world, but you can just slam them. They're almost like dark lagers. They're
Well, right. And even American Stout starts at like 4.8% as a
But
you know,
typically
as
an
a
American
BJCP
stout,
thing.
right? I think for an American stout, they're typically going to be thicker and more
Yes.
viscous and creamy, whereas your Southern Hemisphere stouts are going to be, it's really hot down there. So even if we're drinking a stout, we just want it to be kind of. Now the flavors are all here. I
Yeah.
mean, these things are. This is a fantastic beer you've got all the richness and all the chocolate
Yeah.
and all the roastiness that you would get out of an American stout. It's just a different body.
Yeah.
So probably easier to drink 4 or 5 of these than 4 or 5
yeah.
American
I agree.
stouts.
I agree.
Yeah.
And it seems to have a significantly lighter carbonation level as well.
But the flavor is not lacking at all.
No, that's a big.
And the booziness. that's a big beer.
Both that too.
No, I'm impressed with that
That's
one.
a big beer. That's fun.
And like I said, their motto on their website was, they specialize in making new world beers out of old world styles.
Right.
I love that. And that's what he does, man. Soren gets real creative. We just had one, a cucumber lime gozer, I think it was. He's not afraid to play around with
Well,
flavors.
they said they think they have the largest barrel program in the Southern Hemisphere. So
Yeah.
that's a big sour beer
Yeah,
program.
yep. And their portfolio is stacked. They got a lot of beers. They've won a lot of major awards.
Yeah, a couple years ago I saw that they won New Zealand's Brewer of the Year award.
Yeah. So he's doing good things, and he spends a good amount of time over here with a lot of friends in my circle. Brian's rich history is from Atlanta. He's an Atlanta boy, so they do a lot of events at the Brick Store and with the Porter.
Yeah.
They're doing a lot of collaborative brews. I've just noticed they just did
Nice.
a collab with Magnanimous, which is Charlie Mears, my old friend Charlie.
Their beers are so good.
Yeah, Charlie's on point, man, and he's worked in this industry a long time. So he did a collab with them, and just did a collab with Pizza Port in this last trip. So Soren's got a good reputation in this town, in this world, really, in the beer industry.
This is really a nice beer, and that doesn't do it justice. But I mean, it's a nice beer because it is just very mellow,
Complexed and light.
Yes, yeah, I
That's
like
what
it a
we're,
lot.
that's what we're
It's
pushing
drinkable.
towards. That's what we're
Yep.
pushing
Yeah.
towards is that balance.
It's funny you say that because I spoke with one of my best friends the other day who works out at Left Hand, and we were just talking about the state of the industry. I spoke with Leah, the owner of Highland, she was having
yeah.
the same exact conversation as I was and Chris was. That these larger mid-sized breweries are the ones that are under so much pressure right now. The bigger ones have gone over the top. The little ones are just staying local where they can just contain it, but it's these left hands and, you know, your founders and your Highlands of the world that have really struggled through the pandemic with the huge growth that's happened. Coming out the other side of that thing, they've got a lot of overhead, and the entire world of alcoholic beverages has changed in the last 3 years.
Oh yeah.
While everyone's been sitting at home, and so there is a little panic, I think, amongst some, but both Leah and Chris both said, I mean, our goal is we want to scale back to just good, clean beer.
Right.
You know, it's kind of where they all started, right?
Right.
So she was saying, you know, they don't want to be known just for 2 beers, Gaelic and oatmeal porter. You know, they want to have the full lineup there.
Right.
Kind of scale back a little bit and become more of a lifestyle brand and really get out into the market and work. So.
And those are 2 great beers, but
Yeah.
I get that. You can't.
Yeah.
You can't just survive on 2 beers.
And that's what Chris was saying. They can't survive off of 50,000 different variants of milk stout.
Right.
You know.
Exactly.
So they're playing around again with more sessionable, more approachable. So stuff like this is great. Even though it's 7.5%, it's not going to absolutely kill you. But again, it's a real simple sessionable.
But it
beer.
doesn't drink like it's 7.5%.
Right.
And the
at all.
other thing is, people don't want to drink 10 beers anymore. They just want to sit down and have 1 or 2. And this is.
Oh,
You get all your bang for your buck just having 2 or 3 of these
Yeah.
beers in one night, and you'll be healthier for it.
Boys, anything
So-
else?
Just to extend this a tiny bit longer.
See, they don't have to edit
Russ is
this.
so happy.
I have to edit
We're already
this.
past the 10-minute mark.
I have to edit this.
So I have to go to this. I have to go here. You're clearly, obviously from South Carolina.
Yes, absolutely.
But
Born and raised.
Right. So my understanding is that the Australians and the New Zealanders have something of a friendly rivalry with each other.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
We like to rib each other and make fun of each other, and there's really no, harm to any of it all until we get on the rugby field.
Well, yeah, I was going to say that's where.
All bets are off when the rugby ball comes out.
So when Australians caught drinking a New Zealand beer, it doesn't look bad.
You're on TV, aren't we?
That's okay. When this thing comes out, he's going to have a black thing right over, so you won't recognize him.
Let me ask you guys a quick question. Either of you ever drunk a Molson? The 3 big American beer companies, none of them are owned by America anymore.
Right, I know. It's hilarious.
None of them are in America.
It's sad is what
It's
it
pretty-
is. All right, guys, let's wrap this thing up.
Yep.
Cheers. Go Wallabies.
So damn lucky. See you next time.